Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the digital asset investor, and while the world burns, I remain in exile, and I appreciate Riz.XRP sending out a shout out to Elon Musk. Yes, I had 347,000 followers. You don't get a warning, you don't get anything. All you get is the Elon Musk crypto police just turn you off. Okay? That's how this works. You don't get, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this, or hey, you shouldn't have said this, or whatever. You don't even get, they don't even tell you anything. Or how about this? Hey, you've been here for 5 years and you've built a 347,000 person following. But hey, you know, we maybe this, and this you shouldn't do, or whatever. Nothing. That's not how any business in the world works, by the way. That's how children businesses might work. Anyway, moving along. The world is burning. Now I think this is an older clip, but it is worthy of you listening to again from Gold Telegraph. The guy talking is Ray Dalio, that created Bridgewater and Associates. Billionaire. Extremely smart.
Are we, in your judgment, in a moment in which the world order is going to change?
Yes, we're changing the world order. Okay. In 1945, we started the new world order. What I mean is, throughout history, there's a fight for control because there's no world court that you go to and plead your case. And so there's a fight for power. So there's a war, and then the winners come out of that war, and the winners set the rules. And so 1945, the United States had 80% of the world's money. Gold was money at the time. It had half the world's GDP. It had a monopoly on military power. So the U.S. set the world order. That's why the United Nations is in New York. Washington, D.C. has the IMF and the World Bank.
And its currency became the reserve currency.
And its currency became the reserve currency because of that set of circumstances. Okay, things evolve. Things change, okay, over history. So the three big things that are changing now, that haven't occurred in our lifetime, is the amount of debt and money creation, which affects the value of money, and you can see it affecting what's going on every day.
Large debt means the printing of money.
Right. The large debt puts central bankers in a choice. Do you pay it back with hard money, or do you pay it back with printed devalued money? And if you pay it back with hard money,
or digital
it's
currency.
Hard. In other words, that's when you have debt crises. So in all cases,
or do you create digital currency and roll your country into digital currency and pay it back with that?
Print money, and that produces inflation, right? So that dynamics, the first...
And that's the place we are at this moment.
That's the place we are at this moment. Okay. And we'll talk about that.
We'll drill down on that
in a minute. The second is when there's a great internal conflict, usually when there's a large wealth and values gap, and at the same time as you have a financial problem. Then you get populism of the left and populism of the right. In other words, those who feel disenfranchised want people who are going to fight for them. They don't want compromisers. They don't want them to be in the middle, because middle means that they're not fighting for them. They want them to have guts. So that you have populists of the left and populists
and their positions harden.
And their positions harden, and there are no compromises. That's why we're potentially in a situation that you could see in one of these elections, maybe in 2024, that neither side would accept losing. Perhaps we see that. Maybe you don't follow the rulings of the Supreme Court. Anyway.
That's a serious question today.
So these things have not happened in our lifetime, but they happened many times in history. So if you look at that, you see from those patterns why the gaps become greater and the positions harden, and you see the dynamic. So that's the second. And the third is the rise of a great power to challenge the existing great power. In other words, I gave you the example of how the United States was so dominant in 1945. Now it's not as dominant. It is not dominant. In other words, China and the opposition is as strong as the United States and its allies. And so we have a conflict. And there are 5 kinds of wars. And they start in this order, just sequentially, typically. A trade war, a technology war, a geopolitical influence war. Then you get into a capital and economic warfare, which we are now with sanctions. They always happened in history. And then there's a military war. And so you could see that progression happen through time. And that creates a template. So I like to look at the template and then plot dots to see how we're transpiring.
Economic warfare and or digital currency wars. I believe we're in digital currency wars. That's what I believe. And wait till you see some of the things I'm going to show you. But there's no mistake that gold and XRP will play a crucial role. That's why I have two gold sponsors. Glint's one of them. You can buy gold in your Glint account and you get a debit MasterCard where you can actually spend your gold. It's the perfect combo. Then I have physical gold sponsor, Miles Franklin, code DAI Gold. You can email info@milesfranklin.com or call 952-929-7006. But it's not just gold that's going to be involved here. Here's Christine Lagarde from the IMF.
Where were you now? Christine Lagarde, when I first met you, you had just been at LSE Square Dancing. It's a few years ago. And I think what's so important here is we have institutional forces, and Ngozi, within her wonderful article, really emphasizes institutional strength. I know you've written about it as well. But few have been in the trenches of actual trade policy like you have with your service to the Republic of France. What has to be the new trade policy for the nations of Europe, and for that matter, wealthy nations worldwide? What needs to be the new trade initiative that gets us to global economic growth as Ngozi frames it?
Thank you, Tom, for that. I believe... You catch me a bit off guard because you take me back to my days as a trade minister. I would say two things. One is implement the directives and the regulatory frameworks that exist in order to free up the providing of services throughout the region. There is a service directive which has been around for years and years, of which maybe 60% is actually implemented. If only the whole directive was implemented without reservations, without caveats, without carve-out, I think we will really lift growth in a significant way, whether in relation to goods or in relation to digital, because services are largely now digitally supported. That would be, I say, number one. Number two, I think that if investment, and granted, currently the financing of investment is difficult, but if investments were to be focused on the green transition, plus the transition towards a digital economy, I think there would also be a significant upside as a result of that. And to pick up on Ngozi, I think in the digital world, the two things that need to be improved. One is we need a better governance. We have seen one trial after another one, criminal or otherwise, that the digital world can lead to abuses, including in financial services. So governance is one where we need to make progress, and we need to make progress collectively. Number two, and the European Central Bank spends a lot of effort and time on that, we also, central bankers, the holders of currency, we need to move to the digital area, and we need to be ready to launch CBDC, for us it's digital euro, in relatively short order, so that we can make it safe and have a monetary anchor that has digital traits as well.
Digital euro, you don't say. This was from the Digital Euros Association this past week. I remember Ripple has clinched 2 prestigious awards at Juniper Research's Future Digital Awards for FinTech Payments. What a coincidence. Then you got this. This was from, I'm assuming the SEC did not, I haven't checked, but they were, says just in the SEC reportedly won't appeal its loss in the Grayscale Bitcoin trust case. They had until midnight last night. We shall see on that. Then here's some Bitcoin maxis talking about what they think Bitcoin's going to be worth by Kathy Wood and Natalie Brunel. What it's going to be worth 2030.
I really want to hit that $1 million price prediction by 2030. And I have your chart that I pulled up from Big Ideas. I'll probably put it up on the screen if you're watching this on video. The bear case is 258,000 per Bitcoin. The base case, 682,000, and the bull case, 1.48 million as your price target. Can you talk to me a little bit about how your team reached this conclusion? Because folks out there, again, they think they're late, but this shows that, I mean, the compounded growth rate every single year, they're very, very early, and this has a huge asymmetric potential.
Yes, if you look at the little table on that page, you'll see the building blocks and how conservative they are. I think, now this is from memory, and sometimes I get one big ideas and another mixed up, but I think the institutional allocation to Bitcoin in the base case, I know at one point we said 2.5%, that may have gone down a little, but if we're right, that assumption alone, I have been in the markets for a long time, and as new asset classes evolve, what institutions do in particular is they tiptoe in. They start with 1%, and then they migrate to 2%, and then they migrate to 5%. So I think in this one, it's 2.5% for the base case. When there's a new asset class, it tends to end up in the 5 to 6% range. This happened to real estate. It happened to private equity, venture capital, which is now much more than 6% in many institutional funds. It happened to the whole category of emerging markets. And so
while you're listening to this, don't think Bitcoin, think XRP, the only digital asset with legal clarity.
I think it's that one alone is very conservative. And if you look at another one, the corporate balance sheets, Tesla, Square have Bitcoin on the balance sheets. But we make very cautious assumptions, and I think the corporate treasury assumption is 2.5% of all cash.
Let me ask you a question. She just said Tesla and some of these companies have Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Remember how Brad Garlinghouse said that XRP is not on Ripple's balance sheet? I've always wondered, well, if it's not on their balance sheet, then whose balance sheet is it on? It's got to be on somebody's balance sheet. It's an asset. Wouldn't it be on somebody's balance sheet? If it was pre-allocated to someone, it might be on their balance sheet. All right, I'm going to leave that there, but this is kind of where they're going with their predictions and all. Now, in the private group today, this is where we're going. I'm telling you, write it down. Narioff is talking a lot right now. Write it down. He's pointing to it right here. The child was set up as a figurehead. He is pointing at the fact that Vitalik Buterin was propped up as a government figurehead. I mean, isn't that how? Now think about, as we uncovered ETHgate, who would not cover it? All the traditional media, the same ones that work for the government, CNBC, the narrative carriers. Why are they narrative carriers? Because they're owned. They're told what they're going to report on. Who is it? The same exact people. Those same people are the ones that are Time Magazine and the ones that were propping this guy up before the fraud fell apart. Okay? They're the same people. So we're going to talk about this in the group. We're also going to try to uncover the mystery of Jed and McCaleb. I'm going to hit you with one that you're not going to believe. I wanted to remind everybody that I talked to Brad Combs from Digital Perspectives, and as you saw, Brad Garlinghouse said that XRP Las Vegas is happening in 2024. There's not dates yet, but it is happening. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a private dinner, and I'm going to invite maybe 5 or so people that are from my private group. And I'm not sure if it's going to be a sponsored dinner where we get some like CEOs and executives from some of these companies. We'll see who we can get there, but I'm definitely going to invite at least 5 of the people in this group. So If you're not in the group, get in it, because I'll do those. I hadn't figured out how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to do it. All right, now onto the group. Here we go. So I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Tell your friends and family. The Jed McCaleb mystery is a fascinating one. Thanks for listening.